How you doing, bro?
Alhamdulillah, the man of the moment.
Bro. Well, I'm blissfully unaware of this stuff until people that I know personally, like yourself, they start messaging me on WhatsApp or something, and then I'm like, "Why? What's going on?"
SubhanAllah, I've got a lot of DMs, man. It's like, brother, what is this brother saying? I was like, SubhanAllah, there's nuance that's flying over your head. There's a lot that's flying over our sisters' heads, SubhanAllah. They're bringing up a lot of things, inshallah.
What
Maybe we can go through them.
Is why do people have so much anger and hatred in their heart? Why are people so angry? Why?
Pent up anger, yeah. SubhanAllah, it's even with me, if I've mentioned anything, right, it's straight away attacking, straight away pent up emotions. Yeah. They're looking for an opportunity.
Why are they so angry, bro? Yes, Nasser, assalamu alaikum, akhi.
Wa alaikum salam, Habib.
Yeah, Sheikh Nasser, how you doing, bro?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Anytime I'm on live with you and the brother with the beautiful name, Muhammad, and
MashaAllah.
What more can a brother ask for?
No,
I think we can agree.
I was just asking Muhammad, bro, why are people so angry in general? Like, the opportunity to jump on some outrage porn is just so enticing, and they like it's a mob, you know. Why are people so angry in general? Like, what's wrong with their lives?
Insecurities, if you ask me.
Elaborate on that. Break that down, bro.
In my opinion, I think it's insecurities, right? We demand that people do things the way that we do it because it gives us comfort, right? And it gives us the assurance that what we're doing is right? And oftentimes, I think oftentimes, both for brothers and for sisters, we don't know how to sit in the discomfort, right? And as for men, like that's the part of what we want to do, right? Is when we learn how to regulate our emotions, we're learning how to sit in the emotion of discomfort, because anything that we want in life is going to come with discomfort, right?
I'm just reading the comments.
What? I didn't read the comments. Talk to me. What I missed?
You guys are mad.
What I missed?
I'm trying to lift that, brother. You guys are mental, akhi.
What happened? I missed
Bro,
the comments. Sorry, Akhi Nasser, mashallah. Like, wallahi, what you're saying, subhanAllah, is beautiful. About the CBT, how we want the universe, we want people to act the way that we deem fit. But subhanAllah, the comments just had me tearing up. Afwan.
No problem, because I can always repeat, because anybody that's listening, I'm just giving you textbook from the model, right? The things that upset us in lives are the demands we place on ourselves, others, and life conditions. And so you must do things the way that I do it, because if you don't, that disturbs my level of peace and tranquility, right? And you dare not influence my husband to do something in the way that I don't want him to do it.
100%.
So I think it's that insecurity piece, right? And the demands we want people to do things the way we do it, right? We can't sit with that reality of, everybody can do things differently. There
is one thing I wanted to say, Akhi Mahdi, if you don't mind. So
yeah,
I mashallah, we've known you for a while, and there's a few things, right, that brothers and sisters don't realize is how, subhanAllah, I've been replying back to a few sisters, telling them that, subhanAllah, Akhi Mahdi is a family man, subhanAllah, he's somebody very empathetic, but there's this kind of, there's so much nuance that people are missing with the post, right? It's the fact, you don't mind me mentioning the other side of Mahdi. Yes, subhanAllah. Firstly, Brother Mahdi, mashallah, he's a family man, and the fact that, mashallah, is, I think he shared with me in confidence, I can mention that the issue itself is relating to the own preference of his wife, subhanAllah. It wasn't something that, you forced, you mentioned this, it was something that you mentioned that was a very easy pregnancy, right? We can mention these things, inshallah. No, no worries.
Yeah, this is an important point you raised, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're not saying like your wife's dying, bro. You're not gonna go and help
yeah,
her
yeah.
get some help. Big man thing. That's common sense, you know.
Big man thing, yeah,
You know
yeah,
what
yeah.
I'm saying? Like, big common sense. But
For me, the reason why I was stuttering a bit is that because Akhi Mahdi is, like, for just like my brothers, we are men of ghira, so we don't try to talk about these things, and I'm always checking myself twice.
yeah, exactly.
And Ali radiallahu anhu was asked, "How is your wife?" And he said, "I would have cut your neck off if you weren't close to me." So we're very careful about these issues. Lakin, I think it's important to,
Yeah.
make it a bit obvious to the people that subhanAllah, some women, they have very easy pregnancies, right? And the other issue is when a woman has a pregnancy early on in her life and she continues to have pregnancies, then these are much, much easier than what is being common now. Women, 35, 36, that's called a geriatric pregnancy in medical terms.
Absolutely.
Much, much more severe, much, much more difficult than a woman who's been giving birth since her early, maybe 20s or even late teens. So it's a very, very different affair altogether. So that's a nuance that a lot of people missed as well, subhanAllah. And yeah, the other things maybe we can allude to a few things about how triggering people can be a way of getting them into understanding the wider conversations that we're having over here, inshallah. That's also one thing.
Bro, that post is old, so I don't know why it took off now. It's old. Our youngest child is 2.5 months old. It's an old post. But I think some Twitter girl with a big account just found it somehow, and then boom, the algorithm did all the rest of the work. But you touch on an important point there, Akhi Muhammad, which is why are sisters, it's not just a Muslim thing actually, and Nasser, I ask you as well, why are they delaying marriage and children so long? Why do they think they have time when they're in their late 20s, Mathalan, for example?
No.
You don't have time, yani. The ship is sailing. Yani. You're getting old. To the sisters watching in your late 20s and you still haven't gotten married, and thereby extension you haven't had children, you're getting old. You're a few years away, as Muhammad said, from geriatric pregnancy, which translates to old people pregnancy. What are you waiting for? Why? What's going on?
I've seen a bit of a trend with the comments. Wallah alam, I'm not saying anything. It's the fact that maybe a lot of these sisters, subhanAllah, might be new to understanding the Islamic perspective on marriage, the Islamic perspective on gendered roles, and I work in startups, so I try to understand marketing, understand where the segments where this is touching. So a lot of this information may be very, very difficult to swallow, right? So things like the fact that there's hadith pertaining to the fact that women should be at home, the fact that there's a Quranic ayah, a lot of these things will be very difficult for sisters to understand, and it takes a bit of time. So inshallah, go easy on yourself, and don't like my brother Mahdi was saying, this is not outrage porn. Don't take it like outrage porn. Just come in the comments and say things and express things. Inshallah, take it in. If it's something that you're not used to, take your time with it, inshallah, and let it marinate in your mind. Yeah. I
mean, look, to the sisters who are watching here, I'm sorry, you can't be out here on these streets in your late 20s and still thinking like you're the prize, or you've got time. You don't have time. All right. If you know who your competition is? Your competition is the next group of girls who are in their late teens and early 20s. That's your direct competition. Don't come and tell me about your mashallah, I have a degree, I have master's degree. Nobody gives a damn. Nobody cares. None of the men care. We don't care. We don't care. Can you wipe the floor with the master's degree certificate? Then it's useful. You can use it as a cloth or something. What can you cook? Can you cook? That's more in that. We're more interested in that. Show me your cooking certificate. Show me your cleaning certificate. Can you clean nicely? Don't come tell me about your. You can't be out here on these streets in your late 20s and you're not married. Your competition is the next group of girls who are in their late teens and early 20s. It's your competition. Time for a bit of a wake-up call, to be honest.
Yeah, Habib, one of the things that I would say is 2 points. The quality of attention can mislead sisters, right? Because the swiping that you're going to get, that little hit that you're going to get on the app, right? That's why I tell sisters, don't go on the app if you need that validation hit, because you're going to get it, but you're going to crash when you don't get it, right? And so that attention you get on the apps, The question is, the attention, is it from quality brothers that want to marry you? Or is it brothers that have alternative intentions? So when we say to them that you don't have the leverage you once had, it's what a small minority of us are saying versus what the apps are showing them, which they think is tangible, right? They think that's the evidence to disprove what you and I or others are saying. And I think that segues into the other piece. And the other piece is this cognitive dissonance. I'm sure you brothers know what it means. It's, for those that don't know, it's essentially when you have a certain amount of information and then someone presents something that is counter to what you understand, the discomfort, the emotional discomfort you experience, in order to address this, you disregard the information that's coming without even questioning it, without even looking for the evidence. That's cognitive dissonance. So in order to address this discomfort, you just disregard the new information. So when you say, Mahdi, that your time is fleeting, your leverage is fleeting, that's counter to the evidence that I'm getting. Plus, that requires me to really investigate the narrative that I'm telling about myself, right? That I'm the hottest thing since sliced bread, right? You're challenging something that I hold dearly, that all of the attention I'm getting on the apps is confirming. So that creates a discomfort.
Nasser, I have a question for you. Do you think that a lot of these sisters are out here on these streets delaying marriage all the way into their mid to late 20s because of the amount of validation that they're getting on their social media apps? So they're misled into believing that they still have plenty of options and by extension, plenty of time. So they put marriage on the back burner, so to speak. Do you think that social media is responsible for this in some way?
To some extent, yeah. I had a client with a sister, a session with a sister just a few minutes ago, and what I was saying to her is, she was talking about a potential. The reality is, if she wants to walk out the door tomorrow and get married tonight, she could, and most women can. But the question becomes the quality, and that's where social media, I think, misleads sisters a bit, because it gives them this false sense of high leverage. When in reality, when you're talking about a quality man, you don't have that leverage the older you get. And that's uncomfortable to hear.
What are we defining as older, Nasser? And first of all, how dare you say a woman can't get what she wants just because of her age? How dare you? You should be cancelled immediately.
Yeah. I welcome, it's a shameless plug. It's a feather when I get a misogynist type claim. I got to plug the feather.
TM in the building.
MashaAllah. So this is the thing. I think sisters, look, you can get what you want, but are you willing to pay the cost of what happens through the process of trying to get what you want, and then accept the reality that you may not get it? See, that's being realistic. Go after what you want, but understand you may not get it, and there's a cost to that. Meaning, along the way, you might pass up quality brothers that may not check off your laundry list of criteria. And if you do that, understand the older you get, it's slim pickings. Because the brothers of quality then can aim lower.
Aywa, barakallah fiqh. And for the sisters who are finding this extremely distressing and triggering, let me just up the ante, put the temperature up a little bit more for you. You might think, oh, I'm older, I have more experience. No, your experience is a vice. It is not a virtue. This experience you speak of, it gets in the way. I'm trying to lead the sheep. I want the sheep to follow me. And this experienced sheep thinks it knows where it's going. No, I want nice young sheep to come and follow me easily. Why do you have to? I think we should go this way. Please, be quiet. I know the way. Just follow. And the older you get, what do they call old sheep? Is it mutton or is that a cow? That's an old cow, right? Yeah, that's an old cow. It's hard to eat, bro. It's not nice. It's lost its taste. It's the same thing. And we don't want mutton. We want the nice and easy to lead and bismillah, mashallah.
Okay, how could you be comparing a woman to food? Isn't there a hadith pertaining to...
This is number one.
Aisha radiallahu anha being the best of food. Anyway, let's not go down there. There is one thing I want to say to some of the comments, subhanAllah. Ad hominem, a logical fallacy. Straw man, logical fallacy. Essentially painting somebody and disregarding somebody purely due to an act that somebody has done before or something. It's a logical fallacy. Look it up. Logic. It just really doesn't make sense when people are trying to build an argument and they will not take anything from somebody with a personal attack.
Yeah.
Is this something that the deen teaches? A lot of people, subhanAllah, saying about deen and character, akhlaq, adab. Is this something that really it comes from our akhlaq, or even just logical reasoning? It doesn't really make sense at all.
These people are miskeen. They don't get. They're not here to seek the truth and really with an open mind. No, they've got, just like our brother Nasser said, that's too difficult. That's far too difficult to try and consider another point of view. They're here to vomit their whatever they have to say, and because
you're asking them to do something that they don't have experience oftentimes in doing, which is managing their emotions.
Talk to us about that, Nasser.
I mean, that's the, and see, I think that's where it gets problematic. So, sisters, this is an uncomfortable truth for those of you that are in the chat. This is an uncomfortable truth. You like to maintain that you are the...
One second, Nasser. Somebody said to me, stop hitting your wife. Wait, I'm one of these. Carry on,
So again, a perfect example of not regulating your emotions, right? That you're going to make a comment like that, right? And so most people don't know how to regulate their emotions, and sisters like to maintain this mythical notion that they, by genetic default, know how to regulate their emotions. And the reality is, they, like men, we have to learn how to regulate our thinking, which then regulates the emotion and then regulates what you do. That's a skill set. So just because you're a woman, that doesn't mean you know how to do it. And so the pushback here for you, or the issue you run into, is you're asking women to learn how to regulate their emotions when they see you or someone else do something that is not in line with what they demand should be. It should be this way. I.e., I give you a perfect example, and this is like I think you guys play soccer over there. We call it football or soccer, one of them. But where I'm from, on the other side of Atlantic, for us is basketball. So I'm gonna give you a nice little alley-oop. That's the thing when it comes to no strings attached. What sisters don't like is they're demanding that marriages be what they deem to be a traditional marriage. And it has to be that way, not only for their loved ones, but even people they don't know. It has to be that way. Because if not, then that creates discomfort in self, because that means that the way I'm doing it may not be the only way, and my husband may be open, or the guy that I'm interested in has now more options. Right? It all comes back to the demands that we place on ourselves, others, i.e. those that want to engage in no strings attached in the car, and life conditions. Your life condition must not be that bad that you need to engage in no strings attached.
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Very, very interesting. So, subhanAllah, a brother who is working, mashallah, on a very beautiful matrimonial app, he told me about one profile that came to him. Now, this sister, well past, you can say, the prime. She's maybe in her late 30s, Pakistani sister with, 2-3 children, mashallah. Financially, she's, well-to-do. And she says, I know that the chances of me finding a husband I'm attracted to are very, very low. Right? I've got children, I've got the life, I've got everything that I wanted. But the one thing that I'm missing the most is that feeling, that intimacy, that somebody there to be, be there for, together and have that same feeling, the feeling. And subhanAllah, when that profile came to him, then he realized the beauty of no strings nikah. SubhanAllah, this is something that is a demand, is something that is for a particular set of people. Right? And there may be many sisters on here. And look, SubhanAllah, look, what it is this is not us trying to, Like, it is a shameless plug, I'm not going to lie. SubhanAllah. It's something that I think a lot of sisters, subhanAllah, will realize that this is something very practical, very pragmatic, and inshallah, we've sought, the Tulab al-Ilm people to tell us that this is something that's halal as well, inshallah, for that specific segment of society. Mahdi, to tell us a little bit more, inshallah.
Yeah, I mean, look, no strings to care for a lot of you sisters. But it's a very specific demographic. Typically, it's a sister who has been divorced twice plus times. She usually has children from multiple baby fathers, and she is between the age of 35 to 49, there or thereabouts. All right. For these type of women, the thought of going into another full-time marriage with all the things that comes with, and trying to integrate another man with her children from two baby fathers prior already, it's just all long, bro. It's all long. And for a lot of these women who are in that very specific niche that we have spoken of, no strings nikah type of setup seems to be very practical for them, because she gets the benefits of halal without the drudgery of a full-time marriage. Now, for the younger sisters who are watching, I do not recommend this for you, and I don't want to see you on the app either. All right, you deserve your shot at a conventional marriage. This is not for you. I'm not talking to you. This is for a very, very specific niche of sister, and the one I have just described. And yes, there's been quite a bit of demand actually from sisters who are in that very specific type of niche. They're like, listen, I've done the whole full-time marriage thing 2 or 3 times. All right, it's not worked out for me for whatever reason. I've got a number of children, different baby fathers. I can't bear the thought of introducing my children to another man. It's just a bit long, So this is how I want to run it. So yeah, it's a specific solution for a specific niche of sisters. It is not for everyone.
But bearing in mind, there are some profiles whereby they would like a conventional marriage on there, inshallah. So and so the 3 options that we mentioned, there's the conventional, the traditional, with all the strings. MashaAllah.
MashaAllah.
Come on.
Welcome, AbuAmerican. Welcome to the comments here are hilarious. We can make a live just out of the comments.
I see that the comments. I'm like, boy, they're mad, boy.
I don't know why are they still watching. I'm not forcing you at gunpoint to be here. You can leave, AbuAmerican, you know better than anyone why they're still here. The outrage, they're addicted to it.
You know what it is? It's the outrage porn, man. It's the outrage porn. Some of these people, they have empty lives, and this is their way of getting off. They've got nothing better to do. This is their
how dare you? That little soundbite. How dare you?
How dare you?
So yeah, they just mad. They got nothing else.
Subhanallah. AbuAmerican, how you be keeping, Akhi?
Alhamdulillah, So
AbuAmerican, tell the people, Akhi, because mashallah, your vetting guide has benefited, your vetting sisters guide has benefited a lot of people. Tell us a couple of things about the vetting guide, because I know you got 1.5 coming out soon, the new release as well, inshallah, a couple of editions. Give us a couple of gems from your vetting guide that the brothers can benefit from, prior to looking into a sister or prior to marrying her.
Okay. I mean, one of the first things that I think in the 21st century is very important that brothers need to really look at is...
sorry, AbuAmerican. AbuAmerican, do you have 3 or 4 wives, Akhi?
I have 4.
4 wives. So listen, the brother is extremely qualified. Actually, I would say the most qualified out of all of us to speak on this discussion. Okay, he has 4 wives. Allahumma barik lahu.
Happily married, mashallah.
Top G, mashallah. Fadal, AbuAmerican.
Top G, mashallah.
Do in the 21st century is look at a woman's social media. I mean, everybody from both the men and the women, they want this marriage that their grandparents had and their parents had, and they're like, because it's lasted. And so they're looking at their parents' marriage and how long it's lasted. But what they're not paying attention to is the change in the times and the era between them and their parents. It's like, and I don't want to entirely blame sisters. This is not the intention, but a lot of the responsibility goes to them, because the simple fact of the matter is they are bombarded with just offers and proposals from men on social media. So what happens is if you're discontent and unsatisfied with your partner, because you're constantly getting like offer after offer after offer after offer. And men, we just know the real facts are we don't get this. We don't get pursued like this unless you're like the top, 2 to 5% men. They used to say it's not even close to that anymore. It's got to be about like the 5 to 10% rule. So this is not a shared experience for men. So look at her social media and how she uses it. Because this is going to give you a good indicator of how well your marriage is going to go. When things are bad, when she gets bored, does she start seeking outside validation, attention, and whatever else? And that's something their mom didn't have. That's something her grandma didn't have. The attempts to creep into her DMs from like 300 different dudes. So I'd say one of the first indicators that you need to take a look at when you're looking at a prospective wife is her social media and how she uses it.
What's a deal breaker in terms of how she uses it, actually?
A deal breaker, that's very subjective. You have some brothers that have very high standards based upon Islam. You have other brothers that have just like, hey, she's just got to be pretty. For me, a deal breaker is she's on social media and she's uncovered. I don't like the idea that people out here just Googling and ogling my girl, and then she's just randomly engaging on social media with random men for no particular reason. Now, I say that very, specifically, no particular reason, because really when we look at social media is either you're using it or you're being used. There's no in between. Most women are on social media being used by social media. They're drawing, they are monetized. Your attention is monetized. You have to ask sisters, what are you generally doing on social media? If you're not selling something, you're not teaching something, you're not actively learning something. When I say actively learning, that means memorization. Talent or skill. Most people aren't learning anything on social media. Really, most of it is burning their time. Like we are, to a degree, teaching people stuff. Even if it's social interactions in the modern world. If you're not on social media actually using it, what are you doing on social media?
There's one gem from AbuAmerican's vetting guide, which I've used several times in order to kind of ascertain the woman, is essentially the fact that so much can be done from home for a woman, right? And AbuAmerican mentions that it is very conducive for mental health, for many things, for the woman to have something that is constructive from the home, inshallah, to do. And a very interesting point is the fact that the majority of consumers are women anyway, right? So the way that they use social media in order to either, whether it's da'wah, whether it's e-commerce, FBA, Amazon, whatever they're doing, it should be for a certain purpose. If it's just, subhanAllah, instant gratification, seeking attention, even if the sister's wearing a niqab, subhanAllah, sometimes I've noticed some sisters, subhanAllah, the way that they do up their eyes, making eyelash extensions.
I've noticed amongst the younger sisters, they are preferring to wear niqab now. I'm a bit conflicted as well, because I'm like, okay, on the one hand, it is niqab at the end of the day, but on the other hand, I'm like, but no. You're doing that because you look better with the niqab than without it. And some women do, by the way. Some women do look better with niqab than without it. It's like a frame. It frames their eyes in a particular way with the eyelashes and all the rest. I'm like, bruv, I'm a bit conflicted about how I should feel about this.
So for me, a deal breaker would be like just, on the internet, showing yourself, without your hijab, interacting with for a random reason. I don't interact with women contrary to popular belief without any particular reason or specific reason. It's like, what do you so these types of behaviors, modern day behaviors that really have no place in, in the Islamic character in general, I would like, for me, it's just like, okay, yeah, no, I'm good, because it's just not. What makes my wife special if every man on the internet has access to her? What's the point of in terms of our behavior, if just anybody can approach her and just start talking to her, chatting her up? It's like, wow, okay. This
is a side question, but wallahi, one of the things that baffles me is when a rapper, an NBA player, footballer, literally parades their wife, right? At social media, outside and clubbing. This is ajib. Like the fitrah, the natural disposition is completely tainted in these men. it's something that I really don't understand. Well, like, it's a side point, but like,
Well, culture is the thing. Some guys they have this misguided and confused concept, like look what I got and you can't have, and it's just
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's validation hits, right? It's that need for validation, right? And unfortunately, as men, we fall victim to it as well. And I think you find that a lot of times with non-Muslims, you need that validation hit, and that social media will give you that validation hit, unfortunately. And I think when it comes to the context of what AbuAmerican is saying, when it comes to sisters, using social media as your coping mechanism. Right? I don't know how to deal with my emotions, so let me go to social media because somebody's going to validate me. I know whose profile to go to that's going to give me that Disney fantasy that makes me feel good about my situation, versus really taking that time and energy to learn how to regulate my emotions.
Right. I mean, there's a comment here. She says she doesn't have to entertain men. It's her intention. I assume what this sister's trying to say is it's the intention that counts. Oh God, give me strength. The path to hell was paved with 1,000 good intentions, you know. And when it comes to women in particular, even with my girls, they're all my older girls. Yeah, they're 14 and 16. I'm extremely strict with how they use devices. Very, very strict, and they are not allowed devices like a phone of their own in their room or anything like this. You know, none of this nonsense. Why? Well, I mean, kids in general, boys and girls, are easily influenced, firstly and foremostly, but the validation that Nasser and AbuAmerican has been talking about, that is so freely on available on the internet now, it's just too enticing for a girl to be able to turn that away, and therefore they need fettering, they need handcuffing. You know, that this needs to be controlled. I know these are all words that are extremely triggering for the ladies in the comments. Yes, you need to be controlled. Yes, you do need to be controlled. And it comes from a place of love, not from a place of, oh, I want to oppress you. No, I need to help you and guide you because you're easily misled, you know, like the sheep, easily misled. You need the shepherd to guide you. And that shepherd, well, it's your father until you get married. And then once you get married, it's your husband. One of my very good friends, he said, very good comment. He said to me, Mahdi, a woman is raised twice, once in the home of her father and once in the home of her husband. I was like, you know what? He hit the nail on the head there, bro.
I don't think that whole intention thing counts in social media. And I say this a lot, and then the sisters are about to get triggered, but I'm going to say it anyway. The reality is, what is social media to women is pornography to men. The reality is, men and women have different attraction markers. Men, their attraction markers are visual, and so they use pornography. Women, their attraction markers, that's why game works. Everybody talks about game and getting into her head and, you know, building a attraction, desire. Social media provides that for her. And so, okay, you intend to use, just imagine if a brother said, yeah, but my intention with pornography is it's not bad. You think you're crazy. And that's how you sound when you start talking about, as a woman, I'm using social media, you know. I mean, okay, obviously there is some nuance here. You can use social media in a neutral manner or in a manner that has a net positive when it comes down to education and income. But again, how many people are actually doing that? You know, it's rare. It's the exception, it's not the norm. And so, you know, this whole, the intention, I don't buy it. I'm sorry, sisters. You know, it's just more harm is done than good. And I mean, they're like a gun. You know, you can try and shoot your enemy that's fighting your friend, but if you shoot your friend, what's the difference if the enemy shot him or you shot him? Yeah, your intention was good, but your friend's just bleeding. They're bleeding out like they're gonna die, whether you shot him or they shot him. And so filled with harms and whatever else, especially for women. You know, and we've seen like the psychological studies that show that women are dealing with like a lot of insecurities and personal issues, like they're looking at lifestyles, beauty standards, all these other things, you know, and comparing themselves. I don't see how there's a significant benefit to it, you know.
So I have a question for Muhammad and AbuAmerican, both of you then, okay? Because there's a lot of brothers out here obviously trying to get married, and Instagram is frankly the biggest dating app in the world, right? So a lot of brothers are trying to make contact with sisters through Instagram. How does one go about this effectively, considering that these sisters are probably getting DMs from, in the least instance, a handful of brothers regularly, and worst case scenario, she's getting like just hundreds of DMs, and you're just another guy in the DM. What advice would you give to the young men, Muhammad? I know you've got experience in the marriage app world specifically, and AbuAmerican, obviously, you know, yeah, the game master. So
the game master. There's one point before, inshallah, just to mention, one sister, subhanallah, complained to me the fact that she's posting pictures, quite alluring pictures of her hijab. A few sisters actually said the same thing to me, and they complain about the fact that the quality of men that are getting are very low. And I said to her quite a simple thing, a simple notion: a man of taqwa will not be attracted to this type of posting, firstly, right? And it goes back to what you mentioned about intention, because for an action to be accepted, if you're doing this purely for the sake of Allah, is there slight noise in the background? Can you hear it?
Bit of an echo.
Slightly. Bit of an echo, apology. Is iman, intention, ittiba, following the Prophet's method, what he's told us. And for those who are Ahlul Sunnah, those who are Salafi, those who are Ahlul Sunnah, those who are following, you know, the orthodoxy, I challenge you to get me one imam, one school, one madhab that allows for women to post freely on Instagram, show their face, to uncover themselves. This is a challenge. It's an open challenge, and particularly those sisters who show hair. Maybe, you know, maybe I'm wrong, but I've yet to see any, no matter which end of the spectrum you're on, whether you're, you know, orthodox, literal, all the way down to a Sufi, whatever it is, you won't find a single imam and madhab that would allow this, right? That's one point. Firstly, for the sisters, if you're wondering why you're attracting riffraff, the same people that are giving you that attention, validation, then look at yourself and what you're doing. Inshallah, you know, this obviously, look, at the same time, I'm very aware that sisters have, you know, they've got other sisters around them that telling them, hyping them up. Oh, look at you, looking beautiful, this and that. And it's difficult for sisters to move away from that. But inshallah, with hal jaza'ul ihsan illa al-ihsan, isn't the recompense of excellence anything but excellence? If you want an excellent man, then behave, inshallah, excellently with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he'll give you that, inshallah. So as for the brothers, after what Mehdi's mentioned, one very interesting thing that I come across, mashallah, and the brothers have tried this, and they've seen beautiful results, and that is going into the real world, going outside, literally, just turning off your phone, attending the masajid, attending the durus, you know, mashallah, we've got lessons, lectures, connecting with uncles. And I'm an example of somebody who, an uncle came to me and he said, you know, mashallah, I love your character. You know, I have a daughter who is willing to, you know, we're looking for our daughter right now. So essentially, and quite a few brothers have, mashallah, uncles. And this is the thing, another thing that AbuAmerican, myself, we were talking about this. Well, this is if there's anybody who has a daughter, who's a young daughter looking for marriage, it is your responsibility it is on your head as a wali, as the father, as the rightful wali, to do the legwork, do the legwork, my brother, to find a suitable man, inshallah, for your daughter. And one of the best places is the masajid, as I said. Is those durus, is those lectures, and somebody who not only is there in the masajid, but has a, you know, inshallah, has a career ahead of him, has some sort of you know, a pathway in that as well, inshallah. It's very important. But before I go into too much detail, inshallah, it'd be great to hear from our brother, the OG in this game, mashallah.
I lost the topic again. What was exactly the question again?
It's how to find. So for brothers, it's for how to, you know, how to not be just another number.
How do you use Instagram effectively to find yourself a wife, if that's what you want to do? Considering that these sisters are getting hit up left, right, and center.
To find a partner. I don't know that one, bro. I have to say I don't know. I've never tried it. I don't know.
There is one technique, brother, that we know, all three of us know. Brother Ibros, mashallah, shout out to my brother Ibrahim. He, very simple, just one message. Sister, are you looking to get married? Yes, and then give me your profile, inshallah, and your wali's detail if you're looking. Khalas. Brother Ibrahim, shout out to him, and he sent the receipts to us. It's working. That's right.
Just looking at some of these comments. No, it's not haram at all for a girl to post selfies on social media. Some of these sisters will fight tooth and nail for the luxury of being able to get that free attention. You know, how dare you try and take away my lifeblood? How dare you try and take away my dopamine hit? My life is miserable. I look forward to that red notification bell at the end of the day after I've posted this mega filtered picture of me looking like I've got fish lips and God knows whatever else. First of all, sister, you don't even look like that in real life. Wallahi, I've met some sisters, uqsim billah, on picture. I met one sister in real life. I swear, astaghfirullah al-azim, I thought my stomach was going to come out my backside. I was like, what is this? And who are you? And where's the person I was talking to? Because it's not you. You know, it's not you.
Right. Makeup and filters, that's escapism for women. Video games are escapism for men. So basically, makeup and filters, that's the female version of video games.
100.
It goes back to what we said. Sorry, it goes back to what we said in terms of men. We are visual spatial in nature. We over-index the woman based on her looks. This is something very, very vital and important. And sisters get. I recently posted a story saying, sisters, is it okay for us to have on your profile a bit about your body shape, a little bit, not too much detail, not talking about sizes, but saying generally, you know, would you consider yourself a bit, you know, on the chubby side, on the slim side?
Are you covering your mic, Mohammed? Are you covering your mic?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, is it okay now? Yeah, yeah. So a lot of sisters were disagreeing with the fact that they could be asked initially as to how their body is, but then, you know, it's a very basic, and Brother Nasser can allude to this, the fact that we are visual spatial in our cognition, men, and we over-index based on looks, something very, very important for us, and that's why makeup is prevalent amongst women, right? And when it comes to, you know, hearing and being told that sweet talk, essentially, women over-index on that side, and that's why a lot of brothers spit in game, and game is an actual science, it's an art. And shout out to Brother AbuAmerican if you want to learn that game as well, inshallah.
100%. AbuAmerican, I think you're covering your mic again.
You know what it is? I'm looking for my headphones. Give me a second. My wife's trying to find my headphones.
That's better. That's much better.
Okay. Yeah.
Inshallah, look, Ikhwan, I'm going to wrap this up, inshallah. But before I do that, for those who would like to reach out to either of the three of you, where can they find you? Akhi Nasser, let's start with you, inshallah ta'ala, because I know, Nasser, you mentioned the emotional control element and understanding that. Where can people find out more about that, and how can they get in touch with you if they wanted to, you know, explore that discussion further?
Yeah, appreciate it. So on IG, under my name, Nasir Al-Amin, on my website, Nasir Al-Amin, NasirAlAmin.com. Reach out. And this is what I do. I help people understand their emotions so they can get more of what they want out of life, right? And not be controlled by their emotions, whether it be brothers or sisters. Sisters, majority of my client base are sisters. They realize that their girlfriends tell them comforting lies. So reach out, and I can help you understand your emotions so that you don't run a potential suitor away and or your husband away.
Beautiful. Shukran. Akhi Muhammad, where can the people find you, bro?
Always find Muhammad on all socials, all platforms. Bismillah, tafaddal, come through, get at me, outrage porn, everything, inshallah. And we will be doing more discussions with my background is in startup. So for me, really, it's co-creating something. So, you know, we don't want you to die in your rage. We want you to understand why you're angry. So come to us, inshallah. And yeah, let me know, inshallah, what your thoughts are on this topic. Very, very important, inshallah. I believe, wallahi, that each family unit is a brick of this ummah. And it's upon us, inshallah, brothers who are in this space, to really allude, you know, to demystify any issues that are going on that we see in front of us. And wallahi, I was very emotional when I see sometimes some of how difficult these scenarios are on sisters, and they find themselves in this because of lack of awareness, lack of understanding of basic things. Then, inshallah, if there's something little that we can do, I'm all for it, inshallah. That's why, you know, I love collaborating with you brothers, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep you upon righteousness and steadfastness, inshallah.
I mean,
Find Muhammad.
AbuAmerican, yourself, Akhi, where can the people find you? I know you've got a number of different, you know, ways that you are benefiting the people. Tfaddal, bismillah.
Yeah, they can find me everywhere at, you know, AbuAmerican. I'm AbuAmerican everywhere. You know, I generally focus on, you know, male-female inter-relationship dynamics. You know, if you're having marital problems, believe it or not, I can probably help you. You might not like me, but it's a reality, you know. I want to drop a different message. I've been trying to focus lately on the sisters and trying to get sisters to a particular way because we've been focusing on the brothers to get themselves better. Sisters, let me just say this. Do this. Quit social media for a week. Quit it for 7 days. Just get off for 7 days. If you can't do that, if you automatically have a knee-jerk reaction inside of you like, no, why should I? Then you have a problem. You have an addiction. You know, that it's like this is your crack. This is your sugar, and it's hard. And if you get off of it and you find yourself going through the symptoms of withdrawal in the first 2 to 3 days, which you probably will, then you need to realize that you have a problem on social media, and it's very serious. I advise sisters in specific to do this. Brothers, they tend to be, you know, we don't get that high and that low from social media. But sisters, I'd like to advise you to just try that. It's going to be better for your real world relationships. And if you feel the necessity to come back on after a week, then it'll be better for your online relationships, hopefully, but doubtful. But if you want to improve your real world relationship with your partner, your parents, your family, your brothers, your sisters, quit social media. Try it for just a week. Come back and tell me if I was wrong. AbuAmerican everywhere.
Can I add to that?
Shukran, AbuAmerican. Yes, tfaddal, Akhi, bismillah.
So that's great. That's great advice. That's a great practical assignment to give sisters. I would just add to that, sisters, if you want to take that just one more step, these are the 4 things I want you to write down. We know that the action was you wanted to go online and you didn't. So that's your action. I want you to write down also with that, what did you tell yourself? What was that narrative that was going on in your mind when you wanted to go on IG, but you didn't? What was that self-talk? What was that narrative you created in your mind? Write that down. Also write down what you did. Did you go kick the cat? Did you go feed the cat? Did you go outside for a walk? Did you get down and do some push-ups? Did you go call your girlfriend? What did you do? And then the last thing I want you to write down was the physiological response. Because what you want to eventually do is, when you know that I feel anxious because I didn't get on IG right now, you want to know physiologically what's going on. Your hands start to sweat, you get increased heart rate, because then you'll start to know, and this will help you later on when you're married, when my heart starts to race, I'm typically anxious. So then I need to ask myself, what am I telling myself right now? What's that narrative? Because I'm creating my anxiety. My husband isn't creating my anxiety. My children aren't creating my anxiety. It's the narrative I'm creating right now that's creating the emotion. I.e., when I don't go on IG right now, the narrative that I create then creates the emotion of anxiety, then creates the action. So the suggestion that I would just add to what my brother, the great assignment he gave you, write down what exactly you told yourself. What was that narrative you constructed? Because you constructed it. What did you do? How did you feel? Meaning, what went on internally and what was that feeling? That way you'll be able to pair those things, right? When I need a validation hit and then I start feeling my heart start to increase, I know I'm creating anxiety. And so emotions are the red flag to tell you to think about your thinking. What is the narrative that I've created? What is the meaning that I'm telling myself about myself because I need this validation hit and I can't get it? So I would suggest you add that to what my brother AbuAmerican is telling you to do and check back in with him in a week. And you'll be able to give him some insight in terms of, yeah, every time I wanted to go on IG, I felt anxious. And I knew it because my heart started to increase. I started to pace. I started to pick fights with people.
Barakallah feek. Jazakallah khair. Ikhwan, I appreciate the three of you coming on. Jazakumullah khair. I'll chat to you guys in the group, inshallah. Barakallah feek.
If there's any way we can save these comments, it gives me so much
I would
happiness.
love to, bro. I'd love to. Akhi. It doesn't. The video will save, but the comments will not be saved, which is a shame because there's been like 10 or 15 different sisters repeatedly commenting for the past hour. Like they've been loyal to this video, and I want to shout out all of those sisters who have been loyally commenting and pushing this video in the algorithm. I couldn't have done this without you. We couldn't do this without you. We rely upon your outrage porn, actually. You know.
Can I just make one point? Because I saw something. It says, a sister says, your mother would be ashamed, something like this, embarrassed. MashaAllah, sis, my mother would love this flower right here. So I just want to, this feather right here, yeah, my mother would be okay with that. Just for the sister in the comments. MashaAllah.
We'll speak soon, inshallah. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.